Today is Friday, January 7th. We're talking about how Presidents Biden and Trump are facing off once again. This time, they're attacking each other over what they think are the biggest threats to Americans. Also, should workers be required to get COVID-19 vaccines? The U.S. Supreme Court is wading into that debate today. Plus, how GameStop is changing its business for the future. Some of the most popular inventions to come out of the Consumer Electronics Show. And how does a taco a day sound? We'll tell you about a new Taco Bell subscription. Welcome to The Newsworthy. All the day's news in around 10 minutes. Fast, fair, fun, and on the go. I'm Erica Mandy. Thanks so much for being here. You ready? Let's do this. This week, President Biden and former President Trump were once again taking jabs at each other. To mark 1 year since the deadly Capitol invasion, Biden addressed Americans. And as expected, he blamed his predecessor for the riot. Specifically, he said Trump and his supporters were holding a, quote, dagger at the throat of democracy, with lies about the presidential election. Former President Trump still says the election was stolen from him, even though election officials, the Justice Departments under both Biden and Trump, and several courts have all said that there's no evidence of widespread fraud. Well, because Trump keeps saying the election was corrupt, President Biden says America's system of government is still being threatened. And he added, quote, you cannot love your country only when you win. But Trump fired back. He said the current president is, quote, destroying our nation with insane policies, and called Biden's speech a distraction from his failings as a leader. Many Republicans in Congress echoed that sentiment, saying Biden was politicizing last year's Capitol riot for his own gain. And almost no Republicans joined Biden and congressional Democrats for remembrance ceremonies yesterday. At the one in the House, only 3 people were on the GOP side of the chamber, including former Vice President Dick Cheney. No Republicans went to the Senate event. Other Americans around the country held remembrance ceremonies and vigils, too, mostly to call for voting rights bills, pay tribute to Capitol police officers, or show solidarity with the rioters facing criminal charges. The events were all mostly peaceful, and no major issues were reported. The Supreme Court is back in session today to discuss a pretty hot-button issue for Americans right now, COVID-19 vaccine orders. The justices will consider whether the Biden administration can enforce vaccine and testing requirements for large businesses or a vaccine mandate for healthcare workers. It's unusual that the Supreme Court would take on this debate right now, since it hasn't already been fully aired out in the lower courts yet. But it's considering it now as an emergency because COVID-19 cases are surging in the United States. Justices could decide whether the rules are legal or not, but they might not go that far. They could also just decide whether the rules can be enforced for now, while challenges are still being fought in courts around the country. Remember, the planned rules for private businesses say any company with 100 or more workers must make sure employees are fully vaccinated or tested for COVID-19 at least once a week. For healthcare workers, the rule says any facility that takes money from the federal government must make sure all their employees are vaccinated or else they'll lose the money. But so far, neither one is being enforced because of pending legal challenges. The Biden administration still says both rules are crucial to save lives and get the pandemic under control, but opponents say the federal government is overreaching, and these kinds of orders need to be passed by Congress, which they haven't been. Business groups also worry about more essential workers quitting their jobs over these rules, causing even more staffing shortages. The justices will consider all of this today. Reports say the rulings will probably come in the next few days or weeks. It's not just the U.S. COVID-19 cases are spiking all around the world. The World Health Organization says the global case count last week went up by 71% compared to the week before. That's a record increase. And it represents spikes in every region of the world, though the biggest surge was here in the Americas. The U.S. had the highest number of newly reported cases, followed by the U.K., France, Spain, and Italy. But almost everywhere, the COVID-19 survival rate is getting much better. The same week that saw a big spike in cases saw a 10% decrease in COVID-19 related deaths. Officials point to the highly contagious Omicron variant that's sweeping the globe. More people are getting it, but it doesn't seem to be as deadly. Still, the World Health Organization was clear we should not consider Omicron mild either. The WHO chief reminded people that just like earlier variants, Omicron is putting people in the hospital, overwhelming healthcare systems around the world, and some patients are still dying from it. And other top health officials say the more it spreads, the more likely another variant will pop up. So experts say the best way to put a stop to all future variants is for everyone to get vaccinated. Another warning, if you live in the Northeast, a lot more snow is coming. This morning on the East Coast, snow is expected to fall at least an inch an hour. It could come down even faster in parts of Connecticut and Long Island. Overall, New York City could see up to 5 inches of snow, and the snow totals are expected to be even higher in New England. About a foot could fall in states like Maine, Connecticut, Rhode Island, and Massachusetts. This is the same winter storm that broke records in other places yesterday. Snow, freezing rain, and sleet blanketed parts of Tennessee, Kentucky, Alabama, Virginia, West Virginia, and North Carolina. But this storm is expected to clear all the way out of the U.S. by this afternoon, and most of the country should expect milder weather for the weekend. More news is coming up, but first, a quick break for our sponsor. It's a new year, which means it's time for new ideas. Turns out that women may be better investors than men. That's right, according to recent research, women investors outperform their male counterparts. So what gives some women investors an edge? The research shows they're more likely to invest in alternative assets, ones that help diversify their portfolios and are less correlated to traditional stocks and bonds. One of those assets is blue-chip contemporary art. And typically, it's only the bajillionaires, think Beyoncé and Bezos, who can afford a chic Picasso for their walls, right? But Masterworks is changing all of that. Masterworks is the startup democratizing the art market, giving everyday investors a piece of the art pie, or palette to be metaphorical. They've made blue-chip art investable, so you can own a fraction of a multi-million-dollar piece of art. That way, anyone can add paintings by artists like Monet, Basquiat, and Banksy to their portfolio without paying millions. And you can join them by going to masterworks.art/newsworthy. Again, that's masterworks.art/newsworthy. See important disclosures at masterworks.io disclaimer. A team of scientists is on a mission to check out the massive melting Thwaites Glacier, aka the Doomsday Glacier. It's in a very remote part of the world in western Antarctica, and scientists want to know how fast it's melting. If the Thwaites Glacier were to melt entirely, scientists say it would drive sea levels up more than 25 inches, and that could threaten the lives of millions of people globally. That's how Thwaites got its nickname, Doomsday. Scientists will use 2 robot ships to go underneath the glacier. They'll be measuring the seafloor, water temperature, and ice thickness. Plus, they'll look for any cracks. It's a joint $50 million mission by the US and the UK. GameStop shares are up again. They soared yesterday after reports the video game retailer will be getting into the latest trendy tech, NFTs. The Wall Street Journal reports GameStop hired nearly 24 people to launch a marketplace for NFTs. It's going to be an online hub for buying, selling, and trading virtual assets related to video games. Think avatar outfits and weapons. The company is also reportedly exploring partnerships with crypto companies. GameStop has been trying to reset after years of losses, with people downloading and streaming games instead of buying hard copies in stores. Of course, the company got a big boost when it was at the center of a stock trading frenzy last year. The marketplace is reportedly set to launch later this year. High-tech health and wellness was one of the most popular trends featured at this year's CES, the world's largest tech show. For example, a smart toilet. The Toto wellness toilet is made to analyze your health and fitness after your bathroom break. It uses sensors to scan your body and your key outputs, then gives recommendations for you to improve your wellness. It syncs up to your smartphone, so you always have your information on hand. There's also the Sleep Number Climate 360 smart bed. It tracks stress and rest data in the hopes of giving you the best night's sleep. Plus, a pastry scanner that detects cancer-causing ingredients. It uses artificial intelligence to check baked goods for possible carcinogens. And whether you're a germaphobe or just taking precautions because of the pandemic, there are tools for that too, like the AirThings View Plus. It's an air quality sensor that can predict indoor pollution, from viruses to chemicals, allergens, or even smoke from a fireplace or wildfires. And speaking of COVID-19, the Test and Pass is the latest innovation to keep testing private. It's a digital test strip that's connected to your smartphone. That means once the test is done, it turns into a personal, secure health pass controlled by facial recognition. Of course, there were many more high-tech gadgets featured, like a foldable tablet-laptop hybrid, smart glasses, VR gaming gear, an outdoor game console for kiddos, and a lot more. It seems we have a subscription for everything these days: video and music streaming, shopping, home workouts, and now tacos. Yep, Taco Bell's Taco Lovers Pass is now available nationwide. With it, customers can get a taco every day for 30 straight days. The monthly pass costs about $10 a month, depending on the location, and 4 different tacos qualify for the deal. By the way, other chains have tried out this idea too. Panera now has a $9 a month program that lets customers get a coffee a day, and Sweetgreen has a $10 discount program that lets people get all their orders for $3 a month. Two famous actors are being honored for their work in entertainment and philanthropy with an iconic award dating back more than half a century. Jennifer Garner is this year's Woman of the Year, and Jason Bateman was named Man of the Year. Those are given out by Harvard University's Hasty Puddings Theatricals. It's the third oldest theater group in the world, dating back to 1844. The award started in the 1950s. Both Jennifer Garner and Jason Bateman will receive the group's traditional pot of pudding next month. In the past, the Hasty Pudding Awards have gone to other legendary actors like Clint Eastwood, Tom Hanks, Samuel L. Jackson, Meryl Streep, and Viola Davis. That's it for the main news today, so now it's time for Feel Good Friday, when we bring you one extra feel-good or positive news story before the weekend. But first, a quick break to thank our sponsor, KiwiCo. A new year is always a great time to discover new things about ourselves and our interests, and it's just as important for the kids in our lives to make these same discoveries. With a KiwiCo subscription, your child can discover something new all year long. Kids can discover the engineering and mechanics behind everyday objects, the science and chemistry of cooking, geography and culture from new cultures, and brand new art and design techniques, all through seriously fun, hands-on projects. In addition to getting KiwiCo crates for my son at our house, I bought my 5-year-old niece in a different state a KiwiCo subscription that she is already loving. KiwiCo has something for kids of all ages, and there's no commitment, so you can pause or cancel anytime. Redefine learning with play. Explore hands-on projects that build confidence, creativity, and critical thinking skills all year long. And right now, you can get 50% off your first month plus free shipping on any crate line with code NEWSWORTHY at kiwico.com. That's 50% off your first month at KIWICO, kiwico.com with the promo code NEWSWORTHY. Now back to Feel Good Friday. A hockey fan is getting a big reward for the life-saving note she wrote on her phone mid-game. Nadia Popovich was at an NHL game in October when she noticed something strange about the equipment manager for the Vancouver Canucks. Brian Hamilton had a small reddish-brown mole on the back of his neck. She said she thought it looked suspicious from her time as a nursing assistant. So she pulled out her phone, typed a message to tell him the mole looked cancerous, and after waving it around and placing it against the plexiglass, she got Hamilton's attention. At first, he brushed it off, but did end up showing it to his doctor, who did a biopsy. It turned out it was malignant melanoma, a type of skin cancer. In Hamilton's doctor's words, if he would have ignored it for another 4 or 5 years, he wouldn't be here. So Hamilton went to social media to try to find the woman who got his attention and to thank her for the warning. Well, Popovich's mom commented on the post that her daughter would be at the game again that evening, and that she'd just been accepted into medical school. So that night at the Kraken Canucks game, Hamilton got to give his hero a thank you and a hug in person. The two hockey teams also announced they were awarding her a $10,000 scholarship for her medical school expenses. We'll be back tomorrow with our special edition Saturday episode. We're talking about how to improve your finances in the new year. Then join us again Monday for your next news roundup. For now, thank you so much for listening. Have a great day.